Kind regards. Today is Saturday, June 8, 2024. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia. Here on Hurricane Info, we continue to monitor the Atlantic region, where we have yet to see the development of the first tropical cyclone. However, know that this is entirely normal, because June is typically the least active month in terms of cyclonic activity. It is very important not to let your guard down if June ends without cyclonic activity, as this does not correlate with the activity anticipated for the rest of the season. Remember that projections from all experts and computer models predict that this hurricane season will be hyperactive and near record-breaking. So, it is very important that you and your family continue to review your preparation plan in case a tropical cyclone affects you during the season. Now, in this video, we will be talking about the interaction of several atmospheric disturbances occurring over the Gulf of Mexico and the Western Caribbean Sea. This interaction is associated with the arrival of a favorable phase of the Madden-Julian Oscillation, and specifically from the middle of next week, we expect the interaction of several disturbances, including the Central American Gyre, a trough that will develop towards the southeast of the United States, and two tropical waves that will be crossing the Caribbean and reaching the western region by the end of next week. This interaction promises to bring significant rainfall to areas of southern Mexico, Central America, Cuba, and the states of Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama. In this video, I will discuss the expected effects in Central America and southern Mexico, as well as the expected effects for the islands south of the Lesser Antilles associated with two tropical waves moving through the region over the next few days. Additionally, the most significant rain event anticipated to occur over the southeastern United States, especially in the state of Florida, will likely begin on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Here we can clearly see the Central American Gyre, the two tropical waves moving through this region, and the influence of a trough in the southeastern United States. This will create a very humid airflow moving from the Caribbean towards the northeastern Gulf of Mexico, where there will be a high risk of flooding for central and western Cuba and the state of Florida. Additionally, rain should persist over Central America for basically the next 7 days. Before delving into this forecast and discussing the cyclonic development possibilities in the Gulf of Mexico, I wanted to remind you that it's important to subscribe to the channel. Go to the bottom of the video, click the red button that says subscribe, and then click the bell to receive notifications when we post new videos. First, let's talk about the Central American Gyre developing over Central America. As I mentioned, this is associated with a favorable phase of the Madden-Julian Oscillation that will help form low pressures and instability, bringing heavy rains across Central America and southern Mexico. In the current infrared satellite image, we can see numerous thunderstorms and rains towards the south of Cuba and north of Jamaica, as well as some rains developing towards the south of Chiapas, Guatemala, and El Salvador, and in some regions towards the east of Belize and the Yucatán Peninsula. Rain coverage will continue to increase and should peak between Tuesday and Wednesday. This rain event should extend at least until next Friday, and it's important for residents of the Yucatán Peninsula, Chiapas, and Central America to stay alert to updates over the coming days, as well as the western half of Cuba. Here we can see the accumulated rain projection according to the GFS model. You can see that for some regions of Guatemala, Chiapas, and the rest of Central America, between 125 to 200 millimeters of accumulated rain is anticipated. Also, note that for the western region of Cuba, the model is predicting over 300 millimeters over the next 5 days. So, there is a high risk of flooding that will continue to increase early to mid-next week. On the other hand, to the east of the Caribbean, we have two tropical waves moving along latitude 10 degrees north. Their trajectory will be towards the west, and these tropical waves will be crossing over some islands south of the Lesser Antilles, especially for Trinidad and Tobago. According to the rain projections, between 50 to 75 millimeters are expected to fall during the beginning and middle of next week. So, be alert to the possibility of some flooding, as well as for the islands of Barbados and St. Lucia. Now that we have discussed the Central American Gyre, which will continue to strengthen over the coming days, plus the two tropical waves moving through the eastern Caribbean and eventually reaching the western Caribbean, let's look at how this interaction of disturbances will occur during mid to late next week. Let's look at the GFS model projection, where on Monday morning, the Central American Gyre is over areas of Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, and the Yucatán Peninsula. Additionally, the first tropical wave would be located south of Cuba, and the second would be moving south of the Dominican Republic. Then, between Tuesday and Wednesday, you can see that these disturbances converge and create a humid flow from the Caribbean moving over western Cuba and reaching the northeastern Gulf of Mexico and the state of Florida. Also, note that the GFS model is developing a low-pressure system between Thursday and Friday next week, which could have some probability of developing into a subtropical or tropical cyclone. Although the good news is that it seems the circulation will remain quite broad, and that dry air will be entering the southern and southeastern quadrants of the circulation, this could help prevent significant strengthening. But regardless of whether it becomes a tropical or subtropical depression, we are concerned about the moisture flow moving from the Caribbean over the southeastern United States and western Cuba, as this could cause a significant flooding event that could also affect Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama. This low pressure seems to remain over the region at least until next weekend. See the accumulated rainfall estimates over the next 7 days. Here we can see the high risk of flooding for the entire state of Florida, especially for the southern half and areas west and north of the city of Tampa, where it is estimated that between 6 to 10 inches of rain could fall from Tuesday to the weekend. Also, some estimates of 4 to 7 inches of rain affecting southeastern Georgia and southern South Carolina. Regarding the potential for cyclonic development, note that the GFS model does have a low-pressure system. For now, it keeps it quite broad, and it seems that if any development occurs, it could be a subtropical system. We also have the European model, which has a low-pressure system but does not develop it into a tropical cyclone, moving north towards the states of Mississippi and Alabama by the end of next week. Similarly, the German model also shows a weak and broad low-pressure system moving over the northeastern United States. Here on Hurricane Info, I will be monitoring the evolution of this forecast. I think there is at least a low probability of seeing the development of a subtropical or tropical system because some members of the GFS model show a 10 to 15% chance of development by mid to late next week. As you can see, there is a lot of uncertainty about where this low pressure will form and what its trajectory might be. As I mentioned in the last video, forecasting cyclonic development associated with a Central American gyre is extremely difficult. We must wait calmly to see how this interaction unfolds. I also wanted you to see that the European model ensemble members, between 5 to 10% of them, also develop some low pressure in the northern Gulf of Mexico. In terms of probabilities, the European model ensemble has between 30 to 35% probability of developing a tropical depression over the next 5 days, either south of Chiapas and Guerrero in Mexico or over the Bay of Campeche and northern Gulf of Mexico. The important thing is that for now, the National Hurricane Center has not marked the area as a potential area for cyclonic development, but I suspect they will do so early next week. Well, that's all for this video. But before I go, I want to invite you to consider supporting my project by becoming a channel member. You can go to the blue button that appears at the bottom of the video that says Join, where you will find a sponsorship plan. With a small monthly contribution, you can help the Hurricane Info project and receive some additional benefits. I hope everyone has an excellent weekend. Until the next video,